I am definitely going to piss people off with this one.
This is the intro, cause I don't know how to make one yet.
Seriously, that's going to be my intro. We've all heard it, probably way more than any of us have ever wanted to, but we've heard it nonetheless. No matter the situation, whether it be gun violence, bombing, terrorism, illness, car accident, people just love to say thoughts and prayers. Whether it be the plain old thoughts and prayers, or we're keeping you in our thoughts, or we're praying for you in this rough time, you can mix and match and pick your flavor, but in reality it's all the same. Well, I've been thinking about thoughts and prayers for a while, and now I'd like to talk about them. So let's be frank. Thinking about and or praying for someone is useless. Now let's break this down, shall we? Let's start with the prayers part. Now before I get into this, I will preface with the fact that I myself am not a religious man. I don't believe in any god, be it the Christian one, the deistic one, Thor, Zeus, Anubis, etc. I don't subscribe to any of those channels. With that being said, I understand the gesture. I really do. You are appealing to what you imagine to be the most powerful force, entity, being, whatever that exists or doesn't exist based on your definition to do something to help. In theory, that is probably the most gracious and selfless thing that you can do. I get that. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work. I'm not just saying that either. It was a few years ago, but they actually did a multi-million-dollar double-blind study to determine the effects of prayer. The idea was to take patients of a particular procedure and break them up into 3 groups. A group that was being prayed for and knew it, a group that was being prayed for and was told they may or may not be getting prayed for, and a group that wasn't being prayed for and was also told they may or may not be getting prayed for. Unsurprisingly, prayer had no effect on the recovery of any of the patients. What was surprising was that the group that knew they were being prayed for actually fared worse than the other groups. I'll admit that this study was specifically for medical treatment type situations, but I think the results are pretty obvious. Prayer isn't helpful, and we have proven it scientifically. If you'd like to check out this study that I'm talking about for yourself, I'll leave a link to it down below. While we're still talking about prayer, prayer itself is a contradiction. Whenever something unfavorable happens, if people aren't saying thoughts and prayers, then chances are they're probably saying God works in mysterious ways, or this is all just part of God's plan. Well then, if God has a plan, why do you even bother praying? I mean, think about it. If you believe in God and you believe that God has a plan for all of us, then isn't prayer useless? You're essentially saying, hey, I know you've got this big, huge plan, you've got everything all figured out for everyone, but I don't agree with how things are going, so can you completely divert all of that just for me? Thanks. I guess all I'm saying is, why bother praying if God already has everything planned out for you? The way I see it, when you pray, things can only go one of 2 ways. Either what you are praying for was already part of God's plan, in which case your prayer is redundant, or what you're praying for wasn't part of God's plan, in which case your prayer was futile. Also, isn't God supposed to be omniscient? Doesn't that mean that God already knows what you're thinking and feeling? In fact, isn't God supposed to know things about you that you don't even know about yourself? I mean, when you think about it like that, is there even a need to pray? Shouldn't God already know what you're going to say anyway? As a final note on prayer and God's plan, if God's plan involves killing children to things like gun violence and cancer, then that God is not worthy of my prayers. I'm not going to pray to anything, God or not, that allows things like the Sandy Hook shooting and childhood leukemia to happen. If your God had any power at all and cared about us at all, those things never should have even happened in the first place. Okay, moving on, let's talk about your thoughts. What does it actually mean to be thinking about the victims of a tragedy, someone who is suffering from a disease, or someone who is dealing with loss? Are you thinking about solutions? Are you thinking of ways to help them? Are you thinking of ways to prevent this from happening to anybody else ever again? If that's what you're thinking about, then I absolutely 100% support that, so long as you don't just keep those thoughts in your head. Thinking about these things is a good start, but then you need to actually go out and start spreading awareness, or vote in a way that reflects the thoughts that you've been having, or just help in some way, shape, or form. That actually makes sense to me. The problem is, I don't think people are doing that. I feel like people are saying that they're thinking about someone or something, and then they kind of just let the thought drift away. And honestly, with everything that people have to deal with these days, I understand if you're not always thinking about the sad stuff happening around you, or let alone in your country, or even let alone in the world. I mean, there's just so much. How would you even function? All I'm saying is, don't make it seem like you're devoting your brain to a cause when you know damn well you aren't. Quite honestly, I feel like people just say thoughts because prayers by itself just isn't enough, and they know that, so they try and throw something on top, but in reality, it's almost just as useless. That being said, thoughts can be powerful. When a mathematician or a surgeon or an engineer or anybody sets out to solve a problem, the first thing that they do is think about it a real whole lot. However, at some point, those thoughts need to hit paper. Those thoughts need to turn into action. Those thoughts need to become tangible, otherwise those thoughts just become useless. As a final summary, if you're someone whom, when tragedy strikes, all you do is say or post the words, thoughts and prayers, I get that you think that you're helping, but I have to side with Anthony Jeselnik on this when he says, your words are worth less than nothing. You are not giving any of your time, your money, or even your compassion. All you are doing is saying, hey, don't forget about me today. That is literally word for word from Anthony Jeselnik, by the way. I couldn't have said it better myself if I tried, so that was a shameless borrow of his words. But anyway, particularly on social media, those posts are literally just fishing for likes and reactions. If that's literally all you're saying, I don't think you should say anything at all. If you do feel the need to post something, try to make it constructive. Try to start a conversation. Hell, I don't care if you make a donation and let people know that you did that and maybe tell them where to go to make a donation themselves. Try to make a difference for the better. You have the power to do that. We collectively have the power to change things. So take a step in that direction. I know this was a bit of a heavy topic, but I really did just want to get that off my chest. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button or share to spread a little bit of the love. Comment to let me know what you think about thoughts and prayers. Do you think that the thoughts and prayers posts are actually nice and maybe I'm just overreacting and I should let it go? Or do you agree with me and you think, well, maybe these people kind of are just fishing for reactions? I'd love to know whatever it is that you're thinking, so let me know in the comments. Also, let me know if there's anything you'd like to see me be frank about in the future. And with all of that being said, I've been Frank, you've been lovely, and I can't wait to talk to you again.